So welcome everybody to Cultivating Abundance even in inflationary times. This workshop will help you create prosperity and abundance no matter what's going on in the external environment. And it was created because a lot of people have come to me and said, Joel, inflation's running 8, 9, 10%. That's really bad. And my question is it bad? But we'll get into that in a second, because I say you can decide what's bad and what's good in your life. But we'll get into that more in a second. So that's the reason why I created this workshop. So just to be clear, by opting into the workshop, you're giving consent to be videoed. And this content may be used for future business purposes. So if you guys don't want to be have your beautiful faces on for further business purposes, feel free to turn off your camera if you don't feel comfortable with that. That's great. I would like this though to be interactive. So if you have questions or you have comments and you don't want to ask them out loud, you can put them in the chat. That's fine as well. So before we begin, I'd love you guys to take a deep breath in and out. And if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes or just soften them. Take another deep breath in and out. And know that the words I'm about to say will be of greatest advantage to you. Take another deep breath in and out. And it is my absolute promise to you that the abundance and prosperity you seek is here right now. Take another deep breath in and out. And remember, I believe in you. You can take another deep breath in and out and come back to center. And you can open your eyes if you had them closed. How you guys feel? A little bit more prosperous and abundant? Awesome, awesome. So let me ask you a question. Can you imagine never having to worry about money again? Really? Can you? Because I will tell you, based on my research, reading tons of psychology books, interviewing dozens and dozens of people, that most people can't imagine it because they don't believe it. Now, many of you know, back in 2009, I essentially won the lottery. But if you asked me if I was ecstatic, I would have told you absolutely for a minute. But what if you could be happy now before you have the millions in the bank? Creating the feeling of gratitude for what you have now can shift your feelings about wealth and abundance from worry and fear to expectation and fun. And this is what I did before I even knew this gratitude technique consciously. And over the next few minutes, you too will learn how to shift your feelings about money and create real financial abundance. Anybody ready for that? Can I get a heaven yeah? Heaven yeah?
Oh yeah.
So what you just heard, by the way, was the first minute and a half of my TEDx talk. Yes, I recorded a TEDx talk last month in Lahui, Hawaii, on the island of Kauai. And I'm going to ask you guys, I know some of you have already committed, so I appreciate you, but if I'd love to get this talk out to as many people as possible. So if you guys enjoyed what you just heard that first minute, but you want to learn more about my TEDx talk, feel free. But I'd love for you to like, comment, and share it when it comes out in a few months. So if you're willing to commit to that, put that in the chat and I'll add you to the list when it does come out in a few months. But I want to help as many people as possible become financially free. And, you know, by having more viewers, that helps, right? And I just, you know, it'd be good to have, you know, hundreds of thousands of people watch this, not just a few. So that's the goal of the TEDx talk. Actually, the goal of the TEDx talk is to help people become financially free and shift their mindset around money from worry and fear to expectation and fun, to create some happy habits for them and to create some affirmations that they can use going forward every day that will shift their feelings about money and abundance. So thank you for those of you who agreed, appreciate you. So let's get into it. Did everyone get the handout that I sent to you last night? Now, I know some of you signed up in the last hour or two, so that's okay. I'll send the handout again with the request for feedback and with this recording. And so you don't actually need the handout, but if you did get it and you printed it out, great. If you didn't, that's fine too. Maybe just get a piece of paper and pen handy. If you don't have one, go grab a notebook and a pen or a pencil. Or if you want to just write on, you know, you downloaded it, but you didn't print it out, that's fine too. You can write if you have another screen, or if you want to write just type on your computer, that's fine too. So we're going to be going through a number of exercises. So let's get into it. The name of this workshop again was Cultivating Abundance Even in Inflationary Times. So the idea is to think about how you can cultivate abundance despite what's going on in the outside world. So my first question on the worksheet is inflation good or bad? So I'll ask you guys to take a minute and just think about that. For you personally, I don't mean for the world, for the government, for other people, but for you personally, is inflation good or bad? And I'll give you 2 minutes to just think about that, and then we'll share. So take a few more seconds and just finish up the sentence you're writing now. So anybody want to share some of the things they wrote down? So I kind of gave you my thoughts already, right? It's what you think about anything creates your life. So if what's going on in the external world you feel is hurtful to you personally, then that's what you're going to experience. But I'd love to hear others' thoughts. I know we have some experts in the room on inflation. Bill, yes,
Hey, Joe. Good to see you again.
good to see
Um,
you.
yeah. Um, Nice job on the talk last month, by the way. I happened to have been in Hawaii on the next island over when you were there, so
Oh,
um, I actually, on a personal level, wrote that there's an indifference in inflation. On the one hand, it's really annoying from the standpoint of pricing, credit card debt, borrowing, mortgage, etc. But on the other hand, it's also a positive motivator so that I continue to focus and grow our business, which would render these impacts moot on the broader picture. So that's
absolutely.
what I wrote.
No, very helpful. Thanks, Bill, for sharing. Others, anyone else like to share? Tara.
Okay, I'm going to share, but it's a little embarrassing. The first part, um, I wrote, I don't know. I'm not even sure what inflation is exactly. So I just try to go about my business and do my best. That's the embarrassing part because I really don't know what it is. I know it makes things more expensive, but I don't really understand it. But then I reminded myself of an affirmation, and this is what I try to think about, that everything is as it should be and everything is for my highest good and the highest good of all. So when I just
Awesome.
focus on that, it doesn't bring my vibration down or put me into fear.
Awesome. So let me just answer that. So there's many definitions of inflation. There's no one answer. That's why maybe it's even confusing for some people because there's many definitions. I'll just give you a simple definition is when prices are going up. And it could be food, it could be gas, it could be, as Phil mentioned, the cost of borrowing on your credit card. Right? It could be the cost of borrowing on your mortgage. And mortgage rates, if you want to buy a home now compared to a year ago, the rate on a mortgage, the rate to borrow to buy a house or any real estate has gone up probably from, call it a 30-year mortgage probably has gone from 3.5 to 5.5, say about 2%, 200 basis points. So there are areas of the economy where if you are a borrower or you're a consumer, then you're paying more. And that's all inflation is you're paying more. But there are many definitions of that. There's the consumer price index, which is the overall index weighted by supposedly what the average consumer pays for different things like food and rent and gas and oil and so on. And the government weights all these things and comes up with the consumer price index and how much it's going up, which no one person in the world is that person that pays that exact increase because your distribution of payments is different than that weighting. Right? And some people pay a lot more of their overall cost for healthcare or for their home versus what that CPI is. And then there's the producer price index, which is the price that the producers are paying for their goods, which they generally will pass on to consumers. So that's another. And then there's one of the indices the Federal Reserve pays quite a lot of attention to is the PCE index. And that's neither the CPI or the PPI, but it's a government index that they look at. So there's many different calculations of price increases, but that generally, I think, is a pretty good overview for what we're going to be talking about here today in terms of inflation. So Catherine, you have your hand up.
Yes. So, like Shara, I don't really understand about inflation. All I know is that I needed to allocate my funds differently for my grocery shopping. And so for decades, every time I go shopping in my grocery store, I would buy a bottle of wine. So back in March, I didn't buy a bottle of wine. And so I went 3 nights without wine. That's the first 3 nights, again, in decades. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to buy a bottle of wine. And I thought, well, you know what? I've gone 3 nights. Well, I've gone ever since then. I've not had any alcohol. So the tangential benefit to me is that I've given up alcohol. And I didn't start out with that as a goal.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, people can change behavior. I think I mentioned this on a past workshop 6 weeks ago, that you may be changing your behavior because of higher prices, like gas prices. When you go to the gas station and you see the price of gas has gone from $2.50, $2.75 to $4.50 or $5, that some people stopped filling up their tank. And it used to cost $40 to fill up their tank, and now they're only putting in 20 or 25. I heard some stories of people just paying putting in $5 or $10. So like 1 gallon or 2 gallons. And then they have to go again at the end of the day or the next day. So that mindset may not be serving you if you're saying, okay, I gotta, it's more of a scarcity mindset. We'll talk about that in terms of beliefs, but so let's move on to number 2, because that's where we get into, and we had a whole workshop, by the way, on beliefs. So, I'm not going to go into how to shift your money beliefs, but I put a link in the worksheet, and when you get the worksheet, if you haven't gotten it, you didn't get it today because you signed up a bit late, you'll get it tomorrow. And we did a whole workshop on how to shift your money beliefs, but what I recommend is playing both ends to the middle. And I don't know if you guys know that term. So what it means is, like, you can just assume, like we talked about in how to shift your money beliefs, and act as if you're already abundant, right? There are many ways you can do that. You could shift your beliefs and act as if, right? You're not quite there yet. Maybe your income, your cash flow has gone down because of higher prices. So you can act as if that hasn't happened, and your business, like Phil said earlier, your business, revenues are going up, so that can offset it, right? And that's one way to act as if it's already, cash flow is already back to where it was before these prices went up. But another way is to play both ends to the middle, which is, okay, I'm going to believe that things are going to get better, but in the meantime, I am going to cut back, right? I am going to check out where I need to cut my expenses. And this is, so that was in the worksheet. That what we did was number 1, is inflation good or bad? Now we're up to number 2, playing both ends to the middle. So I actually have a quote from my second book at the bottom, The 9 Money Rules Billionaires Use, which says, many have said budgeting is just focusing on lack, scarcity, and a poverty consciousness. To me, you need to know where you are before you can figure out where you want to go. If you don't know how much money you're spending now, how can you figure out what it will take to become financially free? So what I'm recommending in this number 2 here is to play both ends to the middle. So step 1 is, do you know where your money is going? And this is, basic. I know it's going to sound like a 4-letter word to many of you, but this is basic budgeting. And I know there's probably some negative feeling in your stomach for some of you when you hear that word. And it's okay. You create your feelings. You can smile and say that I created that feeling, and I can create happiness and abundance by smiling and feeling good right now. So the point is, do you know where your money is going? So step one is to write down some things that you budget or could be budgeting. Is it food? Is it housing? Is it vacation? Maybe it's even charitable contributions, right? So think about ways or places that you could cut back and or just know where the money is going, how much you're spending on each of these different areas. So take 2 minutes. If you have the worksheet, you see the examples in front of you. If you don't, just think about it. Where is your money going? What are you spending a lot of your money on? And then we'll have a discussion on that. So take 2 minutes. Okay, so you heard the alarm, maybe, maybe not. So any interaction, any discussion, you guys? So think about where your money is going. Write down some things you could budget on. Again, I mentioned some of those. Where anybody want to share some areas? Have you thought about, like, what are your biggest expenses? You know, be it, and or where could be your biggest expenses? Thanks, Larry. So Larry said he keeps a running budget every month for each area of his expenses. So that's great. I mean, so if you're not doing this, I'd recommend, as I in the quote on the worksheet, I'd recommend starting, or even if you do it just, you know, once for 1 month or for 1 week and multiply by 4, just to get an idea of where the expenses are. You know, are you spending most of your time, most of your money on rent or the mortgage? Is it mostly on chocolate? Some people it is. Or massages or mani-pedis. You know, where are the extras going? And are there places where, if you want to play both ends to the middle, you could cut back? So the next step is to, again, kind of went into this already, keep track of everything you spend today and write it down. So think about, well, okay, we're at least here in the East, it's 1:30 Eastern in the afternoon. So you may have gotten out today, maybe you didn't. In this day and age, I know a lot of people not walking outside their homes. I haven't walked outside my home except for my jog this morning. So maybe you haven't spent any money, but maybe take a typical day and write down, what you spend, the non-automatic payments, right? You bought a book from Amazon. You went to Starbucks and bought the coffee. You bought a bottle of water, you grabbed a soda on the way somewhere. And just do that. Maybe pick a day that's not today, especially if you're on the West Coast and you just, it's 10:30 in the morning. This might be the first activity of the day. So maybe pick yesterday or pick another day and just think about what you spent money on for that particular day. And I'll give you a minute to do that. So take another few seconds and just finish up the sentence you're writing right now. Does anybody want to share some experiences? So Larry said he typically spends the most on a Saturday when he's out shopping and running errands. Yeah, that's also the same for me. Usually during the week, unless I'm going into the city, Manhattan, I'm generally not spending a lot of money, just sitting at home. But I think about a typical day where you maybe are getting out and think about the items you are spending on. So step 3 now is where we get into, think about where you can cut back. So I wrote a number of things down on the worksheet. I'm not going to read all of them, but there are probably places where you could spend less, right? So one example is if you don't have a thermostat that's automatic, you might want to think about buying one, especially as we enter the winter season here in the East, because that can save a lot of money as opposed to manually changing it. You can set it so that, the way I have it set in the evenings in the summertime is the temperature is higher, and in the wintertime, the temperature is lower, and that's automatic. And I just set it for winter or summer. And so then I'm not, it's an automatic thermostat. So you're saving on the energy during those times when you're asleep. So Catherine said she did this exercise years ago, discovered she spent money on coffee, snacks, newspapers, changed behavior. Now she brings beverage and food with her. So yeah, so think about some ways. I'll give you a few others. Cut the cable. I don't know if any of you still have cable, but I stopped probably about 18 months ago, and I didn't really miss the TV much. It's interesting. So that's, talking about changed behavior, Catherine, I changed my behavior by stop watching TV, right? I said, okay, I can read more. Like, do I really need to sit in front of the TV for 2 hours every night? No. So Catherine said she hasn't watched any TV at all since 1983. Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not enough, in some ways it's probably not helpful either. So, another example I gave in step 3 here was to sell your crap. I actually did this with my mom when we sold her house back in May, and we went through a lot of items, and there's a lot of we had 2 estate sales or 2 tag sales, and sold a lot of her stuff that she couldn't take with her to her assisted living center. And she went from a big house to 2 rooms. So think about, you probably have a lot of stuff around your house that you absolutely don't need, you may not use, and you could sell it. I wrote this up. So refinancing, this is probably unlikely right today, but when interest rates go back down, as they will sometime in the next few years, that's something you can check on maybe once a year, once every 2 years, to see what your mortgage rate is and what the current rates are. You can do that on your car loan too, or if you have a home equity loan. Another recommendation I had in here was DIY. There's so many things you could do yourself just by going onto YouTube and checking it out, right? So, I mean, some of you may like to be handy, may not be, but it's easy to learn by just going on YouTube and checking out the way things have been done by others. And it's free, right? All you're doing is paying for your Wi-Fi. So I'll give you a couple of minutes, but think about other ways. Oh, another example I gave here was credit cards. A lot of credit cards have benefits. So you might want to just reach out, call up your credit card company and say, hey, what are the benefits? I didn't really read the fine print. Can you tell me? So I have an American Express Platinum card, and I didn't realize this, but I guess it was for a year or so. It was probably during the pandemic. I got free shipping on everything. So anything I shipped using my American Express card, when I was shipping out my books, all the shipping was free. I got reimbursed for that. Right now, any checked bag using my American Express card is free. So I told you guys, I just went to Hawaii with my daughter for my TEDx talk. Both ways, it was $60. We saved $120. You do that a few trips a year and it pays for your card. Right now, if you didn't charge it to the American Express card, you wouldn't have saved that $60, $120 both ways. So just think of, I'll give you a couple minutes to write down some places you could cut back on spending, right? So again, this is playing both ends to the middle. We're acting as if, there's more abundance and prosperity coming into our lives from our business, from manifesting, from changing the beliefs. And again, watch that video, the recording of how to shift your money beliefs that we did a couple of months ago. I recommend watching that, but take a couple of minutes and write down ways you could cut back. So take a couple more seconds and just finish up the sentence you're writing. Yeah, so Keith was asking, so buying groceries at Costco versus neighborhood stores, can that save money? Yeah, so that was one of my recommendations, buying in bulk. It doesn't have to be Costco, but in general, if you're buying in bulk, if you have a big family, and as opposed to going shopping, 4 times a month, buy in bulk, and you can save that way. The other recommendation I had in the worksheet was, if you have a high credit card rate, figure out what the rate is and see if you can do a balanced transfer. There are balanced transfer cards that you can get with a 0% interest rate for 12 to 18 months. And then they jump to the high rate like the others, but they want you to transfer the balances so that you get a new card effectively and start using that. So if you need help with that, reach out to me. I actually did that for one of my one-on-one coaching clients. It's not hard to do. You just, go out to a number of different banks. They generally want your business, no matter what your credit rating, unless it's really, really low. Generally, they want your business. So anyone want to share some places that they've thought about cutting back on spending? Besides Keith's idea of buying in bulk? Phil?
Hi, Joel. Oh,
Terry, just wait for Phil and then you can go.
No,
Thank you.
okay.
It's okay. I'll be a lot less takeout, Starbucks coffee. Use the Amex benefits that you mentioned. I've been using Visa and I've been paying baggage fees. I forgot about the Amex. But also senior discounts at the supermarket. I hate to admit it, I'm over 60 now. Just odd things like that. But the bigger ones, debt consolidation, balance transfer cards. Those are the ones that'll take the biggest chunks out.
Phil, you look great. That's amazing. I had no clue. Seriously.
64, Joe.
What?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I want to look like you. Holy cow. I thought you were 46.
God bless.
Yeah. You got to give me some tips.
You must have seen me with my 12-year-old. So.
Thank you for sharing, Phil. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, those are great ideas. Pete says Zoom has filters. No, I don't think it has a filter on. Terry, would you like to share?
Sure. Hi there. For me, it would have to be various online courses. Oh my gosh, I must be like a serial signer upper of anything that comes across my email. Most are, they start off free and then they upsell. And then that's yeah. I don't shop for clothes or shoes like that, but man, I've just had to realize there's, only so much to learn, and it just really, I have to budget myself for it and not just sign up because it's good stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm all about learning and growing, but you guys know, I think my Money Miracles membership is only $59. I've seen courses that are 5-10 times what I charge for my membership. So it's budgeting for that, budgeting for your learning. That you can do that. Say, okay, for 2022 or 2023, I'm going to budget $1,000 or $2,000 for learnings, for seminars, courses. Maybe that's way too low for you, but whatever the number is, see, actually what might be a really good idea is to see how much you spent in 2022, how much you spent in 2021 on courses, and then say, okay, this is my total expenses. I spend, I don't know, let's just use round numbers. I spend $100,000 a year on all my expenses, and I'm spending 15% on courses. Okay, that's maybe a bit much, right? So then you want to say, okay, what feels right? And you do some introspection. What feels right for you? Go into your feelings and thoughts, and what feels right for you to spend on courses. You know, I know for myself this year, I probably spent a bit high being coached for my TEDx talk and being coached for other things. But then you also have to think about the return on investment, right? So don't look at only one side, right? What's the return,
Exactly.
right? With the Money Miracles membership, you know, people are spending $59 a month. So call it, you know, $700 a year, but they're manifesting, you know, on average, we're up to $15,000 a person. So like, what's the return on the investment? You know, should you invest in something for $700 to potentially get a return of 15,000? Absolutely. Right. If I know I'm going to get a 10 bagger or 20 bagger on a stock investment, I do that all day long. But think about what the return on the investment is. Don't look just on the expense side, Terry. Look at the return as well, because you know I'm all about learning and growing, but I'm looking at the return as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And I had to just really pretty much pull back on all of it, because even though the return may have looked good, that return didn't always pan out if you're doing too many things. And so it was hard to say that the return was worth it. So this year I pulled back on almost everything, but except for a mastermind group that I'm in. And then so next year I'll do a lot better at budgeting it all the way out.
And the Money Miracles membership.
Yes. Yes.
So this next step 3, is playing the budget game. This is actually from the Money Miracles membership. It's actually the end of stage 3 into stage 4, and we actually play this game. So I'm going to go through it with you guys, so you get a little bit of a tease on what's in the membership. So basically, we want to make budgeting a game, so it's not like, oh, the 4-letter word, it's been. So the first step is, and I'm not going to have you guys go through it now because, you know, it's in this worksheet. So I'm not going to go through it in detail. I'm just going to tell you the steps. And if you want the worksheet, the spreadsheet, feel free to reach out, you know, respond to the email with the feedback and the recording that's in there, and the sheet again, and ask me for the spreadsheet. I'll send it to you. So the first step in the budget game is get a spreadsheet, and you put columns down it, as many columns as you have monthly expenses. And then the second step is you start with the far left column and you write a heading that describes your largest expense. Usually that's your rent or your mortgage, although I guess for some people it could be the credit card payments, but hopefully not. And then, you know, on the next line under the header, you write the dollar amount and circle this amount, which is the amount you're obligated to pay every month. And then on the third line, you write the total amount of the debt outstanding. So for example, say you have a mortgage, you know, $200,000 mortgage. So you'd write mortgage, and that's the header. And then right under mortgage, you'd write the amount that your mortgage is each month. Say it's $1,500 a month. And then underneath that, you'd write 200,000, and that would be the outstanding balance. So the idea is to write them all down and then sort them by the largest to the smallest. So that would be step 3. And then step 4 is to write across the top of the spreadsheet. And this is really important. It may not sound like it, but it is really important. It is my desire to keep my promise regarding all of these financial obligations. And in some cases, I will even do twice as much as required. So it is my desire to keep my promise regarding all of these financial obligations. And in some cases, I will even do twice as much as required. You guys don't have to write that down. It's in the worksheet that you'll get tomorrow if you didn't get it today. So that's and then every time you open up the spreadsheet, you read it out loud with emotion. Okay, you know how I say to do affirmations. That's also for my TEDx talk. Out loud with emotion. Here you're not putting your name in it, but generally I'd recommend also putting your name in it, but you don't have to here. And so that's step 4. Step 5 is each time you receive a bill. So you're excited, you go to the mailbox because you got a bill, right? You're excited, you're positive, because what you're going to do is you're going to get out your spreadsheet and you're going to adjust the amount, the minimum monthly amount that's required, and the outstanding balance, because it's going down, right? Because you're going to pay it down. That balance of the mortgage is going to be a little bit lower because you're paying some of that down. So step 6, and this may sound a little strange if you don't have enough money to pay everything in all the columns. Say your cash flow is negative. I'd still double the smallest amount. So say the one with the smallest outstanding balance, and you only do this for items outstanding that have an outstanding balance. So don't do it for, your, say your Verizon bill, right? That's not a debt outstanding. It's just you have to pay it each month. Okay, it's anything with an outstanding balance. So say you have a credit card that has $1,000 as an outstanding balance, and the minimum payment due is 25, and you've been only paying 25. We'll pay 50. Promise me you'll pay 50. Okay, so and you may say, I can't do that because I have negative cash flow. Do it anyway. Because what we found is you're shifting the energy related to money, and you're gonna, so that's step 7. Feel glad that you've kept your new promise to yourself to do the best to pay everything you owe and to do even twice that amount in some cases. So what's happening is you're actually shifting the energy around money. And I know I say money is energy. Some of you may not believe it. I say everything's energy. So you're looking at your finances in a new way, and you're gonna feel better. You're feeling different, and that's what you want. You want to shift, right? So you're looking at your finances in a new way, and you're creating a new vibration. Some of you know about frequency and vibration and energy. Well, you're creating a new vibration by doing this, a higher vibration, and it works. I had a woman in my course, and it's interesting because you may think, okay, again, I have negative cash flow. How is this going to help? Well, you're shifting the vibration. So I had a woman in a course that I taught a couple of years ago. It's actually 2019, the end of 2019. And we played the budget game. And she was working a part-time job. I think she was making $60,000 at her part-time job. And I explained this to her, and we had our meetings every 2 weeks. She came back 2 weeks later, and she had been applying for jobs, but she started applying maybe a little bit more aggressively of those 2 weeks. But she had 3 job offers, 1 full-time and 2 part-time. And the total she manifested in those 2 weeks, and she accepted the full-time job and she could still do one of the part-time jobs, 160,000 in 2 weeks. So that, and you can't know where these things come from, right? That's the awesome thing about playing the game is you say, well, I have negative cash flow, but you're shifting the energy. So all of a sudden you manifest real money, right? So that's the benefit of playing the game. So again, if you have any questions or you want to get the spreadsheet, it's very simple spreadsheet, obviously, for those of you into spreadsheets, but if you're not, just ask me for it, I'll send it to you. So since I did mention the membership, I wanted to share a couple of testimonials. We have a couple of Money Miracles members in the room, but I'll share their testimonial anyway. So can you guys see my screen? It's a picture of me right now. Anybody take themselves off mute? Tell me you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see it.
Great. Okay.
Hello, everyone. So I am just so happy that I am excited and just everything about why I joined the membership. I'm glad I did. It came at the right time for me. I've had so many limiting beliefs around money, and really being able to detach from the outcome of money being that end goal. And I've struggled a lot just growing up with the mindset around lack and not having, and the money stories that I learned. So the membership has really helped me to unlearn a lot of those things that I've learned previously. And I love the videos. I love that I can watch them on demand. Sometimes I watch them while I'm washing the dishes. I love the abundance meditation. Is that what it's called? Okay. I listen to that frequently because I tend to still, because I'm still working through the process, get those worries in, or those thoughts around or have the negative emotions around money. And so I listen to that often. I love being inside the group and hearing everyone's manifestations, and it's so inspiring. So this group has been just a great outlet for me, just to help me change a lot of what I've been going through as far as money and the belief systems that I've had in the past.
I'm going to give you a couple more.
Well, I completely agree with everything Jatora said. That has been my experience too. And what I love is your generosity of time, content. It's not just information, it's inspiration. You share your stories and how you're practicing. I agree with Jatora that having the group to check in with and share my money manifestations with, and if there's something that inspired me about abundance, a place that I can share it, and hearing everyone's stories, it's just a reminder that it can just come from anywhere at any time. And the one thing that I want to point out that for me is different than perhaps some other coaches or groups like this is your philosophy, Joel, about everything with grace and ease. Because in this situation, like Jatora, I've had so much negative limiting programming. Everything has felt like an effort when it's in the past, when it's come to money. And I know that there's so much content more for me to explore in my timing, but I don't feel any pressure. I feel like it's all there for me in a little, if I take little bite-sized steps at a time, I always feel encouraged. And your number one mantra, that you believe in us, I feel that. And I feel that Joel has believed in me more than I've believed in myself on this journey. But now I am starting to believe in everything that he sees in me and knows I'm capable of. And I'm like stepping into it by baby steps with grace and ease. And little by little, I am experiencing all the shifts that he talks about. So having this group makes sure that I cannot get far off track. If I forget a day or I can't get that far off track, and as soon as I see one of those posts, I'm right back on. So I think it's one of the greatest decisions I ever made to join this group. So thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Tara and Jatora. And just want to play Catherine's.
I listen to the affirmations every day, morning, evening. I've recorded some of the affirmations in my own voice. So I not only do I hear Joel's voice with the you pronoun, but I also hear my own voice with the I pronoun. So I take it in different ways. I take in the inspiration in different ways. And a lot of what I recorded was from Joel's book, the 9 money rules of millionaires use. Great book. And so over this past month, money has come to me in ways that I hadn't expected, just out of the blue, not like the month before or the month before that, but this month. It's been amazing. And last night I wrote in my journal, I feel like there's something waiting to happen that's big and wonderful. I just keep showing up. I keep doing the work consciously and unconsciously. I wonder what it will be. I keep honing my skills, loving to learn, and I'm making the effort to trust. That's a huge thing for me. Making the effort to trust, even though the future seems so nebulous for me right now. Money and opportunities come to me in expected and unexpected ways. I accept and welcome them, and I deserve it. So thank you, Joel. This has been a huge mind shift for me already over the past number of weeks.
So thank you guys for those testimonials. I appreciate you doing that. And, you know, it really is a great group of people. You know, it's not just me supporting you, but we have a great community of people, like-minded people that are posting in the private Facebook group, and there's accountability partners. We have a whole reward system. And by the way, if you guys sign up from this recording today on September 14th or in the next few days, you get an extra 30 minutes of free prosperity coaching. So every person who signs up gets 30 minutes free, but you'll get a second for those of you who sign up from this recording. So, and then the other thing I wanted to mention, if you're not a member, if you become a member, or if you're already a member, I mentioned this to members already. In September, if you recommend 3 people, 1 person signs up, you get 333 points. So we have a reward system. You could, if you do that 3 times, you could win 1 month of free coaching right in September, which I don't do 1 month of free coaching. The minimum is 3 months, $7,500. So it's effectively like you divide by 3, $2,500 if you just recommend 9 people and 3 people sign up. Crazy. Awesome deal. So now I wanted to get into like the really meat of it here, which is savings and investing. Phil, we'll see you next time. You get the recording, so you'll hear all about savings and investing as well. So thanks for joining. Appreciate it.
I appreciate
So
it. We'll circle back. Thanks.
Thanks, Phil. So look, where to put your money for savings and investing during high inflationary times. The first comment in step 1 is the easiest answer is where not to put your money. Okay, you don't want to put your money into a checking and savings account, right? Because what happens is the banks will not lift their rates until many months. And what they're doing is they're increasing the rates they charge you on the credit card. They'll increase the rates they charge you on the mortgage loans and other loans, but they're not going to increase the rates that you earn. There'll be a lag. So where not to put your money is into long-term certificates of deposit, if those are still around, CDs, treasury bills or notes, annuities. When inflation's going higher, as it has been and staying high, you don't want to put it into lock in into long-term rates like a 3-5 year CD or a 3-5 year annuity, something like that. So that's the easiest answer, where not to put your money. So think about it. I've given you suggestions of where not. Just take a minute and write down some places where you could put your money for savings. So take a minute and think about that. So just take a few more seconds and finish up the sentence you're writing. So anyone like to share?
I would say one would
There.
be like a universal index type life insurance policy.
Okay, that's definitely a possibility. Yeah, so again, you want to put it in places where rates will go up as inflation goes up. Inflation is high. So as interest rates go up, you want to capture that. So that's the point of not putting it into locking it in now, or locking it in for 5 years when you're only getting 3% if inflation's going higher, 5, 6, 7%. Right. So yesterday there was a surprise. I didn't talk about this earlier, that the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, came out and it was 8.3%, and the institutional investors, quote unquote, thought it was going to be 8.1. So that 0.2% difference caused the stock market to go down 4%. 4%. That doesn't happen too often. It happens like once every 3 years that the market goes down 4%. So it was bad expectations. They thought inflation had peaked and was going to go a lot lower. So it's clear that inflation is remaining high. So you want to put it into, you want to put your money into places where you can capture the higher interest rates, not be at the behest of the large banks. So step 2 is to write down investments that do best as inflation goes higher. So I gave a couple ideas in the worksheet. Life insurance and regional bank stocks. So banks are making more money on the spread between what they're charging you and what they're earning. Right. So think about it. They're charging more for mortgages. That's going in their pocket. They're charging more for the credit cards. That's going in their pocket. Right. So they're earning more. The spread between, when interest rates were lower, they were earning this. And the other thing with life insurance companies is generally on their policies, they have to give a minimum guarantee. The banks don't, but the insurance companies do. So maybe that minimum guarantee was 2%. Well, when rates were 2%, it was 0, right? The spread was 0. But with interest rates higher at 3, 4, 5, they're earning that spread, right? The guarantee is 2, but they're earning 3, 4, 5, right? So they're making more money. So that's why, and I used to invest in these companies, so I know these companies the best, so I'm quite familiar with these. The companies like technology companies, they have to pay more because they borrowed, right? They borrow billions of dollars, and maybe it's a 1-year loan. And a year ago, that loan, they were paying 3%. And now the 1-year loan, they're paying 5%, right? As it comes up for renewal, the banks are going to charge them more. So that's why the technology companies don't do well as inflation is high. Another generally good investment is real estate. Real estate is considered an inflation hedge. Think about it. What's the cost for lumber or other types of commodities? They're higher now than they were a year ago. So it costs more to build a new house. And so existing houses are worth more. So usually real estate appreciates when interest rates or inflation goes higher. So that's generally considered an inflation hedge. And then cryptocurrencies, just from a very high level, are likely to appreciate as the dollar depreciates. And the dollar usually depreciates when inflation goes higher. The dollar has been quite strong. The US dollar has been quite strong this year, surprisingly, with inflation high. But you would think generally from a very high level, the dollar should depreciate because it's worth less compared to other currencies when inflation is high and going higher. So those are 3 areas. I don't know if you guys have other ideas or thoughts on inflation hedges or good types of investments, but those were kind of my suggestions.
Yeah, I had that, I had the index insurance products, crypto and real estate, and then I put credit unions just because they're more personable and to just kind of have that little.
Yeah, if you can invest in a credit union, that's great. I wouldn't sit like, I don't know how often you can invest in a credit union, but usually at a credit union, you're an investor by putting money with them. Like if you deposit money with them, you effectively become a shareholder of the credit union.
I just thought maybe for that emergency money.
Yeah.
It's 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the shorter term money, that the other thing I didn't mention is you want to keep your money in short term, like in shorter, like more liquid as interest rates go higher. You don't, like I said earlier, you don't want to commit to a 5-year CD or annuity now or 6 months ago, because you're locking the rate in at 3-4% when interest rates are going higher, and you're locking that in for 3 years or 5 years. So you want to keep your money in short liquid assets like checking account or savings account, so that in 6 months, as interest rates have been go higher, the Federal Reserve is going to increase rates again this month, probably 0.75% or 75 basis points, but it could be 1% even. And then they're going to increase rates again, probably in November and again in December. So rates are going higher. And so you don't want to lock in your money for 3 years, 5 years when you know that's happening. Right. So you might as well wait a few months and then, put it into, at least 6 months is my guess. 3 to 6 months rates are higher. So any questions? I think that kind of concludes my official workshop. I did want to mention a couple of other things. My background, for those of you who came late, that's Edinburgh Castle, where I'm going to be in a few weeks. And we talked about acting as if, we talked about believing, having a vision board. We've talked about in a past workshop called How to Shift Your Money Beliefs. So that link is connected with this worksheet. So when I send it to you, you can also watch that recording or review it if you were there, because it's always good to review. I did want to mention again about the Money Miracles membership. We're starting this month, so you got a couple more weeks, but the early bird special has ended. But you're still, like, we're going to do a kind of a little bit of an early bird launch on September 27th. So we're going to have a launch party along with our question and answer period. That's September 27th. It's a Tuesday at 12:30 Eastern. And then let me just let's see if I can do this. I wanted to just put the link for anybody who wanted to join the membership here. So I'm putting the link in the chat if anybody wants to take a look. There's the FAQ on that link. So if you have any questions about the cost of it, the time, if you want to share it with somebody who's not here, remember, for those members who are already members, if you forward that link on to 3 people, 1 person signs up, you're getting 333 points for the next 2 weeks. If you do that 3 times, you could win 1,000 points or a free lifetime, it's a free lifetime membership or 1 month of prosperity coaching. So any questions? I know that was a lot of information in a short period of time. You will get the recording, so hopefully that'll be beneficial. And yeah, I'd also like to ask for feedback. So you'll get a email tomorrow for those of you who signed up with questions. I'd love to make this even better as I do these free workshops, help more people. What could I have done even better? What was the good? What was the bad? What was the ugly? of this workshop. So love to hear that. And again, you'll get the worksheet and you'll get this recording as well. Last chance, questions? All good. Okay, thank you so much for attending. I appreciate all you. And remember, I believe in you.
Thank you, Joel.